We all want a better job, we want more money, we want bigger and better things in life. But are those things and the pursuit of those things actually causing us to not live a very full life right where we are? That's what we're talking about on today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast.
You're listening to the Steve Freeman Podcast, the real, raw truth about the pursuit of success in music, business, and life. Here's your host, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling producer, and serial entrepreneur, Steve Freeman.
Hey guys and gals, welcome back to another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. It is so good to have you here. While you're here, don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, iTunes, please rate us 5 stars and leave a written review just like this one. This show rocks. Rated as 5 stars. Corey Lane says, guys, Steve knows his stuff. I've been listening to him for a few months now. He's real and doesn't hold back. I'm a singer-songwriter and have since started listening to his podcast. I've been able to grow my social media pages by leaps and bounds. This guy is the real deal. Corey Lane, thank you so much for rating us 5 stars and leaving a written review. If you would like your review featured in an upcoming episode of the podcast, go to Apple Podcast or iTunes and leave one, and then keep listening, and you will probably hear your review. If you're not following me on social media, I would love to have you. It's at The Steve Freeman on all social media platforms. Plus, you can find me at thestevefreeman.com. You can join my inner circle there, where members of my inner circle, which is absolutely free, get little tips, tricks, and advice delivered straight to your email inbox. Maybe once a week, couple times a week. I don't want to bug you too much. As always, the podcast brought to you by ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com. If you are a singer-songwriter, producer-engineer like Corey, then you need to head over to ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com. I guarantee you it's the #1 resource that will help you monetize your career, grow your career. We show you step-by-step via online courses every single month how to grow your career in the music business. All of the courses are taught by very successful people within the industry. So it's not just a he said, she said thing. These are people that have been to the mountaintop, and we are trying our best to give you the secrets, the tips, and the tricks that you need to take your career to the next level. Find out everything you need to know and even get a couple freebies when you head over to ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com. All right, guys, as those of you that are watching the video version on Facebook, you can see we are back in the new but old studio. We haven't been here since the coronavirus kind of hit. But we are in the process of getting everything in here redone for season 6. There's still a lot more to do, actually. It doesn't look bad on camera right now, but it's pretty bare. But in the process of doing this and getting ready for season 6, I realized that I struggle with something. And I don't know if you guys struggle with it. I'm sure that you do. I'm not that much different than, we're all not very much different than each other. But as I got ready to move back over here into this studio and thinking about where I wanted to place different things, I realized that I have a huge problem. And my problem is that I always think, and I let a lot of things that I don't have serve as barriers to keeping me and from getting where I really ultimately want to go. I falsely think that, if I just had that camera that I don't have, or if I had that desk, or if I had that microphone, or I want that picture on the wall. How often do we keep from living a very full life and having successful careers by constantly placing that one thing that we don't have yet in our way, or those 2 things, or those 3 things? One of the things that I've been noticing here on YouTube, when I've been doing some more YouTube videos and getting back to doing that regularly, is a lot of the comments are based around people saying, well, if I had that microphone, or if I had that mic pre or that compressor, then my music would sound better. And it's just amazing to me because, look, I'm going to own this. I'm going to put it on myself. We want more money. We want better jobs. We want a bigger house. We want a nicer wardrobe. We want a bigger car, nicer car, faster car. We want, a better studio. We want a better environment. And I wonder what it is that allows us to continue to put these things as barriers in our way. And why sometimes it is so hard for us to be satisfied with where we currently are, the position that we currently are. My wife tells me constantly that I'm not living the life that I'm in, that my head is constantly 3 months, 6 months, 10 months, a year down the road. And it really makes me wonder, what would happen? What kind of possibilities would open and the framework and the mindset of somebody that is truly in the moment and thinking about the 5 minutes that you're currently in instead of the 3 months that you haven't even seen yet. It's like, what would that look like? And how much more could we get done and accomplished if we put the time, effort, and energy into wishing and thinking about things that we don't have yet and using them as barriers to getting where we want to go? If we used that passion and that strength, that energy, and that time to focus on enjoying the things that we have right now and finding a way to make what is at our immediate reach work for us in a way to get us to our goal, instead of thinking we're just that 1 or 2 or 3 things away from having things that we really want or getting us to a place that we really want. There are 3 things that I thought about, and I want to share those with you today. Number 1 is I think we need to stop falling into the comparison trap. I think a lot of times, and I see this in the music business so often because I talk to so many songwriters, I talk to so many artists, producers, and engineers, is that we think, we have got to somehow live up to these people that we're comparing ourselves with. I think a lot of it has to blame and has to do with social media. And we've talked about this in the past, how on social media, everybody is living their quote unquote hashtag best life. Very few people are real on social media. Let's face it. We show people what we want them to see. We show them the person that we want them to see, not necessarily the person or the position or the place that we're in right now, because of exactly what I'm talking about. How many of us are actually happy and satisfied and content with where we are in our life, in our career? I would venture to guess that pretty much everybody listening, and even the guy talking into the microphone right now, me, I'm just as guilty, if not more guilty than most people. We can blame social media because that's what we do. We see other things and we start to compare ourselves. Oh, well, he's succeeding or she's succeeding because she has this thing that I don't have, or he has this thing that I don't have. He has a manager or a social media marketing team or a radio promotions team, or he's got this or she's got that. We look at those things because that is what those people want us to see. The one negative thing, the good thing about social media is that you can reach a lot of different people. The bad thing about social media is that you can reach a lot of different people. And we put ourselves into this comparison trap where we start comparing where we are and who we are with other people showing us the best of the best of the best moments that they're living in their life and their career. Life is just not that good. It's just not. So why do we hold ourselves to that sort of standard? I think the comparison trap is very dangerous. I fall into it just as much as everybody else. I mean, it's very difficult to not, we live on social media. It's very difficult to not get on social media and immediately start coveting things, because the things that make it to the popular page, let's run down a few of those things. And God knows I get backlash every time I talk about this. But you log on there. For guys, it could be music instruments, it could be cars, it could be clothes, it could be lifestyle, it could be a lot of different things. For women, it can be other things for you guys. It can be, oh my God, look at her body. I wish I looked that way in that bathing suit, or I wish I had that purse. And look, so many people, when I talk about things like this, everybody gets so upset because how dare I even say that we compare ourselves to others, or that anybody, men or women, look at each other that way on social media. But yet we all know it's the truth. We, unfortunately, by nature, are superficial. Every single one of us. Why? Because we are looking at the surface. We are looking at the best of the best of the best when people post something on social media. And that's where we're gauging where we are. And we're trying to achieve a place that those people aren't even at. I think this does so much damage to what we could be, who we are, and what we could accomplish. I think we need to bring us to point number 2 is to think about our reasoning when it comes to this. Look, there is nothing wrong with seeking improvement. I encourage a large part of this podcast, the YouTube videos, the things I post on social media, a lot of it has to do with improvement. I've got areas in my life and in my job, in my profession, in my career that I definitely want to improve. There is nothing wrong with seeking improvement. I think it's healthy. I think it's great. It keeps us driving. I hate the word hustle, even though I have a neon sign that says it in the control room in there. I like the word grind. I like the idea that we get up every day thinking how we can be or become a better version of ourselves. But if the only reasoning that we're doing that is just because we just want it, or because someone else has it, or because if we think we had what those people have, that we would be living the same quality of life they do, that is not reasoning. Like I said, there is nothing wrong at all with getting up every single day going, I want to be better. I want to be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday. I want to go further in my career. I think where the problem comes in and where the reasoning goes wrong is when we start thinking that unless we have X, Y, and Z, that it's unattainable. That unless we look like that person, unless we drive that kind of car, unless we wear those kind of clothes, unless we meet up to some standard, or which oddly enough means that we are all predefining the success and giving it an infinite definition of something that is almost practically unattainable, because all of that is changing. How many times have you used this philosophy on yourself and you've used someone or something as a litmus test or a finish line, a checkered flag, and you've gotten there and you've reached it, and then you look at that and it's then now the definition for that person has changed. And so now you go off in a completely different direction because now you're chasing that. What I think it does is it has us constantly confused with our self-identity. And guys, if we don't know who we are, we're never going to achieve the goals and the dreams and the success that we're chasing. And I want to reiterate that because I think I'm not preaching. If anything, I'm preaching to myself. I am the world's worst. I am probably the most materialistic person that you will ever meet or know or listen to. And I spent many, many, many years competing with other people. I would get up every day and not try to be the best me and get better for me. I would try to beat out this other producer or this other songwriter because I wanted to achieve what they had achieved. I was trying to race them on their own track. Guys, we've got to find our own track. We've got to be the best version of us that we can be, that is not mirrored or based on the definition of someone else's success or someone else's personality or someone else's achievements. We've got to get the mindset right. And I'll go back, and I'm not going to point the finger at any of you. Trust me, I am more than willing to point the finger at myself. I, over the years, have put so much value in things, cars. I mean, at one point, 7, 8, 9, 10 cars It's ridiculous. Guitars, studio gear, equipment. I have done it for the last 3 weeks with these 2 studios. I've done it. There is nothing that I need beyond what I have in these 2 rooms, and I have 10 times more than what I need. But regardless of that fact, I have sat around for 3 weeks thinking, well, I think I want to get this because if I had that, then I could do this. And thinking that those are the things, the missing keys, the things that I don't have, mistakenly thinking that if I had those things, then I could accomplish what I'm trying to accomplish. So I am more guilty than anybody listening or watching this right now. I think the struggle and the way to get past this, the way to understand it, and the way to live our best life is to be more grateful. And I think that's an everyday thing. I don't consider myself to be ungrateful. I don't know, everybody, the thousands and thousands and thousands of you guys listening. I don't know you all personally. I know some of you, and I know the ones that I know are not ungrateful people. I think we're driven people. I think we're goal-oriented. I think that we have not reached the level of success that we ultimately have defined for ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, nothing wrong. Going back to step 1, nothing wrong with seeking improvement and being better. But point number 3 is being grateful every single day. And this is something that I've got to work on. I've got to work on it with me. Because I think at times when we sit and we focus and think about all of these other things that we don't have, that it does tend to seem a little ungrateful for the things that we are blessed with and the things that we do have. Whether that's materialistic, whether that's gifts. A lot of us have gifts in abundance. A lot of you listening out there, I think we take those gifts for granted because right now those gifts may not be monetized in a way that allows us to live the life that we think that if we were better, that we would have. Being grateful is hard for a very driven person because by nature, we're always thinking what's next. I know that is my mantra. I don't spend a lot of time in the moments that I'm in because I'm constantly thinking about what's next. What am I going to do next? And there are times when I'm forced to sit down, and this whole coronavirus and self-quarantine and social distancing and has really had me thinking a lot about this, and probably you as well. But it's given me more time to sit around and be in the moment. And I think the more time we spend in the moment, the more grateful we are for the things that we have that surround us immediately. And not so much the things that we haven't attained yet. That life would be awesome if we could just do this. If we could just reach this level, then life would be great. I know as it relates to the music business, guys, I've said this before, and I will say it again. In the music business, there is no mountaintop. You will realize that when you get to the top of what you thought was the mountaintop, you just see the peak of another taller mountain in the distance. Life is really not all that different. And I think if we look at it hard and we think about it enough, we can see how that applies to every area of our life. Even materialistic things. I know for me with cars, I thought, I will feel like I've made it when I buy that Corvette. Well, I bought the Corvette and then I wanted something else. I want a Shelby GT500. I thought it was the Corvette, it's the GT500. So I bought the GT500 and then I wanted a truck. Our definitions move and they float. That's why I try as often as I can to talk to you guys about not having a set definition of success or of quality of life because it's fluid. It moves. And I think if we could just be more in the moment, we'll find that we are more grateful for the life that we have right now and not spend so much time thinking about how grateful we will be for the life we have when we achieve this thing that we've set 3 months, 6 months, a year down the road. I know for me, when it comes to gear, when it comes to this studio, the studio over there, when it comes to these things, over the last few weeks, I've actually learned to use some of the things that I already have in ways that I didn't know that they could be used to help me accomplish different goals. And I think that's the moral of what I wanted to talk about today. If you're one of these people and you're sitting around and you think, oh, if I just had a manager, things could go better. If I had a booking agent, then I could book shows and my career would take off and I would build my fan base. Oh, if I just had this more expensive guitar that sounded better when I played. Or if I just had this car, then I might get more listings for my real estate business. Or if I dressed like this, then I'd get more likes on Facebook and Instagram. If I had a different personality, then I could have a ton of followers on TikTok like all of these other people do. When the reality of the fact are that you don't. For every strength that you think those people have that you don't, you have something they have. And maybe time would be better spent serving and finding the things that you do have. What makes you different? What makes you unique? What makes you stand out? Find out what those, if you don't know what they are, find out what those things are immediately and dive in 1,000% on what separates you and makes you different from everybody else. Because no matter what level you are, and a lot of this could be social media as well, but no matter where you are, I can promise you and guarantee you that you may not be where you want to be yet, but there are a lot of people out there looking at you, wishing they were where you are. So there's nothing wrong with wanting to be a better person. There's nothing wrong with wanting to have a more successful career, to write better songs, produce better records, drive a nicer car, have a bigger house, make more money. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But I think the key to getting all of those things is realizing the strengths of who you are in the moment you're in right now. Don't use the things that you don't have or the personality traits that you don't have as barriers to getting where you want to go. Use the fuel you have inside. Use the things that you have at your disposal right now to make you better and to help you accomplish your goals. Because if we are constantly looking at others and we're trying to live their life, what happens when we reach the end of ours and we realize that we never really lived it? That to me is the scariest thing I can possibly think of. One of these days, all we're going to have is our memories. And I know for me, I'm going to try to do much better. And I want to challenge all of you listening and watching this to do the same. We've been given a gift of time, which is the most valuable thing anybody can ever have during all of this coronavirus outbreak. We've been given the gift of time that has slowed us down. And I think maybe if we use that time to be introspective, that we will find that each one of us already has and possesses the things that we need to take us to the next level. You might have to work 3 times, 4 times, 5 times as hard as some of these other people that have physical things that you don't. But it shouldn't and will not ever keep you from finding success. If you want it bad enough, you will find a way. And the best way to start is with the things in the life and the tools and the resources that you already have. Guys, thank you for joining me for another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. I know today was a little preachy, but like I said, I'm preaching to myself just as much as I'm preaching to you guys, because I want to try to get in this thing where I'm not as materialistic as I've been in the past, that I don't require and look at those things as what really makes me happy and what really makes my life feel full and what really makes me feel satisfied. But thank you guys for joining me. We are increasingly getting closer to the season 6, episode 1, which it was going to be on the 4th, okay? But I think I've said on before, we've sold our house and we're moving, which is why I had to completely redo all of this stuff and move all this to the new studios. We've sold the house and are moving. We actually move on May 4th. So that is not going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to push it until the 8th. I think is what it is. I may be completely wrong on the date, but anyway, it'll be that beginning of the second week of March when we come back for season 6. Format's going to be different. Show's going to be different. Hopefully, I've got a lot more stuff put up in here, and I'm a little bit happier with it. But I'm going to use the stuff that I have and take my own advice. Guys, thank you for being here. Don't forget, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast no matter where you're listening. But if you listen on Apple Podcasts and iTunes, rate us 5 stars and leave a written review. Follow me on social media at TheSteveFreeman and join my inner circle at TheSteveFreeman.com and head over and visit ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com. Great tools, great resources to help you use what you've got right now to find more success in your music career at ArtistDevelopmentAcademy.com. Guys, until the next episode, keep being creative, keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you in the next episode.
Thanks for joining us for the Steve Freeman Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and follow Steve on social media at TheSteveFreeman.